Good evening, Mountaineer Nation. Welcome into the latest edition of the Mountaineer Effect. I'm your host, Marcus Dean. The very special episode this evening. We got Sam here from Geek Gorilla TV, the home, the place where you can find the Mountaineer Effect podcast. Just make sure you don't forget to like and subscribe to the page below. We definitely would love your support. We'd love to get the Geek Gorilla out there. And anything you can do to help us out, we certainly appreciate. Welcome into the broadcast, Sam. Today, definitely a good day to be a Mountaineer, to steal that line from Tony Caridi. I don't like to steal anybody's lines, but dang, that's all I got to say. Dang.
Well, I'll tell you, you don't look at a whole lot when you're talking about playing teams like East Carolina or East Kentucky, rather. Sometimes it's the things you don't see that
right.
that can show you a lot. And what impressed me today the most was the balance. There was a lot of balance in the offense, which is something West Virginia's been missing. So I think for me, that was what impressed me the most.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of balance in today's ball game. Just a quick stat. Run for 329 yards in this game. People will say, yeah, it was Eastern Kentucky, but it's still a Division I talent football team that you put up over 300 yards rushing against.
Absolutely. I mean, any day you can put up those kind of running numbers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter who you're playing in D1. If you can put those numbers up, that's impressive.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and I know people's going to fuss. Well, why didn't you shut him out? Marshall shut him out, blah, blah, blah. But as, the old cliche is, you're going to have the most improvement in a football team from games 1 to 2. They was a solid team. I mean, this was a good, solid win for WVU. I mean, this is one of those ones that's kind of makes you feel good after everything that's happened and things that's been going on.
Well, absolutely, and kind of to bounce off that, with the rushing stats, to put up over 300 yards, but then you're talking about you've got two guys that were over 100 yards rushing apiece.
Yeah, your top two backs go over 100. That's a good day. And
then your number 3 guy has the largest amount of carries with 55 yards. I mean, it really that's what impressed me was the depth.
I mean, you have three talented backs. I mean, of course, your Letty Brown's your starter. Then you have Alex Sink. Then behind Alex Sink is
Mathis.
Mathis. Yeah, he just named Mathis. Yeah, he's a young, talented kid. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of true freshmen, a lot of redshirt freshmen. A lot of young players played today, so we're kind of seeing what this future is going to look like under Neil Brown, because these are the kids that he has recruited.
Yeah, and something that kind of impressed me too today was a quarterback play. Jarrett Doge, is that how you say it?
Daggy.
I don't know how they pronounce it, but he looked pretty solid in the pocket, man. He's still got to work on those sideline routes quite a bit. But he had a couple of deep balls that were just dropped.
Yeah. And I can think of one that comes to mind that could have – I mean, not that the game was ever – and a question was ever in doubt, but when they could have really put, as they say, cut the jugular vein in the first half and just took all the air out of it. It was a third down play. He had all the time in the world to throw the ball, threw a deep poster out to Bryce Wheaton and hit him right in the hands, and he just dropped it.
For myself, overall for the first week, I thought the defense looked pretty good. The Stills brothers come out strong, as we knew they would.
Yep.
They it wasn't that East Carolina couldn't move the ball. They just, West Virginia's defense looked pretty stingy. And, that's a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, they did get that one touchdown. And I think, that was more of a blown coverage than as far as us, giving up a score. This watching in the replay, it was just more of a blown assignment. He was expecting safety help, and he went underneath the safety, and 9 times out of 10 that's going to be a touchdown.
Tell me a little bit about the players that got benched. That was something that a lot of people. There's something a lot of people didn't even realize had happened.
Yeah, this is something that this come about. It has actually hit a few hours before kickout. 11 Mountaineers were suspended for violation of team rules. But you played ball. We both played ball. And that's just you stepped on your feet, stepped on your hand, and you did something you shouldn't have done. And what bothers me about it is there was 2 starting offensive linemen and a starting
slot
receiver and another and one of our transfers was going to play today, and because he just I think his appeal was approved, so he was going to play. He was not going to necessarily start, but he was going to get a lot of reps, and that was our transfer from Memphis. It's an in-house issue that shouldn't be said anyway.
Yeah, I agree. It's it's something that we forget. They are kids, and they're college kids at that.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
they're 19-year-old, 18 to 22-year-old kids. Just having the time of their life. But you got to think now. Maybe this was a wake-up call, especially for those starters. And that Brown having to kind of put his foot down, which that's something I'd support. If you're gonna be a part of the team, you're supposed to act accordingly. I mean, especially during this COVID mess, because if you get out and catch COVID, and that thing can spread like wildfire to your team.
Yeah, I mean, it really, that's the thing. It could really ruin your entire season, everything you've worked for, everything that they've really scraped together.
Exactly.
And just because you want to go out and have fun or do something silly.
Exactly.
It was a good game. I think it gave the Mountaineers really something to build on, something to work to. Like I said, my only criticism was some of the throws, especially to the sidelines. They were bad. They were high and long. Got to get that dialed in, because that's lots of interceptions right there.
I think that will develop better as the season goes on, and with Austin Kendall, he played solid. I mean, nothing popped off the screen when he was in there in the second, and when he was in there in the third quarter, there was nothing to really popped off the screen. But one I was excited to watch was Garrett Green. I mean, even though he played the fourth quarter and the game was already way over and there was no coming back, he led them on a touchdown drive, which was awesome to see. The possible future starting quarterback getting this reps as a true freshman.
Absolutely. And, I'm kind of interested to see how this year is going to affect the next 2 years, just because this does not count as a year of eligibility. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
These guys are basically getting a free year.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't really have to, as coaches, don't really have to worry about counting the 4-game rule. I mean, you got to think, okay, what players do I have the opportunity to play this year, and what games can I get them in to gain them reps and gain them live reps and live games and live everything. But you don't have to worry about this year, because this is kind of a gimme year in terms of the NCAA, I was still to this day, I was really shocked by that, because I didn't see the NCAA grant anything, because when in the history has the NCAA ever granted anything that actually made sense that I can remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually going to make the dynamic a little bit different for this year, just because you're going to see coaches playing guys so they can develop.
Exactly.
Something that you normally would not see.
Right.
So we've got a week off, and then we've got Oklahoma State.
Right.
What are you thinking about Oklahoma State?
I think it's still a coin flip, because Oklahoma State has basically a brand new rebuilt offensive line. What I've got a chance to dig in and everything like that. I mean, we always know Oklahoma State's always going to have a quarterback. That's a given. They just basically plug and play a quarterback. It doesn't matter. They're going to be good. And I think we can do it. but it's going to take something special right now. If everything goes according to plan, we don't have any turnovers. Hold the running back. I mean, he's going to make his plays. He's going to get his yards. If we can hold him under 150 yards and hold the offense point-wise around 30, I think WVU can eke out a win. That's what I'm thinking for them. And, of course, I'll have to go back and get in the bubble and be quarantined. Well, their bubble, whatever they want to call it, and going for not this Saturday, but the following Saturday too. But one thing I did want to mention too on the broadcast here is upset city today in the top 25. So don't be surprised if maybe the Mountaineers aren't ranked come the rankings when they play Oklahoma State.
Looking at Oklahoma State from my perspective, we've lost Oklahoma State for I think 5 straight years now.
Yeah, last year we should have beat them. Last year was an oof. It was
the year before was an oof. I was at that game. It was a terrible oof.
I mean,
so that's kind of what I look at. I mean, we're due for a win against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, due for a good quality program building, like they say, a program building win.
And it's very possible. Looking at their schedule, I think it's very possible that they go 4-0. Very, very, very possible. And Baylor, that's kind of. I never want to put Baylor down, but I think they're going to have a rough year.
Yeah.
I think if we could squeak out Oklahoma State and get some big momentum.
Yeah.
But we got Baylor, Kansas, and then Texas Tech at Lubbock. So
yeah. But we've always traditionally played very well on the road at Lubbock. So since we've been in the Big 12 Conference.
And then Kansas State. Kansas State lost today.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the other team that lost to. Who did they lose to? I can't remember who was they. I know there was a team out of
Arkansas State.
Yeah. Yes, Arkansas State. It was Arkansas State. And Iowa State lost to
the Raging Cajuns, man. Louisiana
that's right, Louisiana Lafayette.
And it was 31-14. They were looking at the box scores. In the second, it was 14-10, and they were up 14-10, and that was it. I was on the Iowa State bandwagon, big time. I think you know that. I thought this would be a year where they could have a run at the Big 12 championship, but losing that game is not going to happen. Our West Virginia quarterbacks are going to be sharing some time. Rightfully so, because you've got them each for a couple more years, and
exactly.
Really give them the opportunity to develop.
Exactly, and that's if they choose to. I mean, and if they're smart, I mean, you can. I mean, you take those extra years to develop.
Neil Brown, when Dana was leaving, I was one that, and you can go back and look at it on Facebook. Before Dana was saying that he was leaving, I was saying, he needs to go. It's time for him to go. He's a 4-loss guy. Anybody can be a 4-loss guy. We've got to get better. And I took a lot of heat from some people for that. And then when he left and they hired Neil Brown, I don't think I've ever been happier for a hire that West Virginia's ever had. I mean, of course, Bob Huggins coming in was phenomenal as a basketball coach, but Neil Brown is such a class act. He's such a brain for the game, and
exactly.
And apparently, he's a great humanitarian. He's everything you could want in a football coach.
I could see him being a coach for the next 20 years here. Whether with this type of landscape that we live in now with college football, will coaches stay longer than 5 years at a program? It still remains to be seen, but I have a feeling our athletic department, Shane Lyons and everybody like that, is going to do whatever it takes to keep him satisfied in his position.
West Virginia gets overlooked a lot, but people still forget, they're one of the top 15 most winning programs in the country.
I actually looked that up just for gigs the other night. The top WV was number. It was either four. Yeah, there was either number 14 or 15 overall in top wins out of in the history of college football, and they're the most winningest program in college football, never to win a national championship.
The JERD Nation Podcast.